Hello, everyone. Welcome to your world or mine. Show me yours and I'll show you mine. And as you know, I'm an alien from another planet. This is my first visit here on Earth. And I'm delighted to have with me today in my exploration to what's really happening with humanity and your planet is beautiful Lien. She's actually called Colorful Lien. Welcome, Lien.
Thank you, Hannelie, and thank you for the opportunity. It's lovely to be here with you.
You see, I even wear my colorful scarf today.
No, I noticed that from the start. Lovely.
Yeah. So tell us, where does this colorful Lien comes from?
Okay, so I studied color therapy about 8 years ago. Well, it has a sort of a story before that. I've always loved color. I remember that my first bedroom was this beautiful pink, very girly pink color. And then later on, when I was a teenager, I had all the primary colors in my bedroom. And my first flat had this shocking orange wall in the dining room. So ever since, I can't live in a place where there's no color. But I never knew about color therapy. And then I stumbled upon it, and it was like a whole new world that opened up to me. So that's why I'm called Colorful Lien, because I'm a color therapist and a color intuitive.
That's amazing. You know, just to share a little bit of a joke with you as well, not a joke so much as just something nice, is that my one house had all the colors of the rainbow. All the different rooms had different colors. And it was
I love that.
And the amazing part is that when people came to visit, especially we took them upstairs to go and look at the bedrooms, because my daughter's bedroom was turquoise blue.
Wow.
So you can imagine this house had lots of wood in it on my planet, and you can imagine this combination and people walking into that turquoise room. And we obviously lightened it up with lighter colors, but it was just amazing people's reaction, because I'm very sensitive, so I picked up what people would experience when they come into this specific room. And just to see the difference as I walked through the house. So I had also a very mischievous experience with that with many people at that time, of them experience all these. So like I said, also, and the dining room was bright yellow. It was most extraordinary because we had a dining room set that was made at a glass top with metal, a metal body underneath. So it was so much lightness in that room that it was like the sun was there all the time. It was just most beautiful.
Lovely.
Which leads me to a question.
Yes.
No, sorry to interrupt you, but it leads me to a question of that I wanted to ask you. I'm really curious about, especially my people on my planet are really curious about the effect of colors on our moods, like how we feel. So maybe we're depressed. Does color have an effect on our emotions and our mood swings?
Absolutely. I think very much on a subconscious level. Once you become aware or conscious, you know that definitely has an effect. But maybe you walk into a room, or your lounge is a color that doesn't resonate with you, but you chose it because of fashion, or you chose it because of this or that, whatever your reason is. And you walk into that room and you always feel either cold or uncomfortable, or you don't want to stay there for a long time. And the first thing that you must look at is look at the color, and then you will know. But wait a little bit, just hang on, let me just feel, and sort of probe my emotions a little bit around this color and see if I really like it. Or maybe I have an emotional attachment or a link to someone who used to like this color, and I'm not maybe in contact with that person anymore. So yes, absolutely. But as I say, if you're not conscious of that, you would not recognize the fact that it's the color that affects your mood.
That's awesome. So it seems like it also works the other way around. If you do feel depressed, go into a room where you feel like vibrant, or a place where there's these colors, or put on clothes that has that color, because for you perhaps maybe orange make you feel vibrant or yellow, and for somebody else it could be purple, and that's okay, but it's authentic to them.
Absolutely. It's a very, color is also a very personal thing. Yes, we have
Mm.
the universal meanings of color, according to the chakras, and different cultures have attach different meanings to color. But yes, it's actually a very personal thing. And like you say, yes, if you are depressed, yeah, bring a bit of sunshine. Just go out in the sun and feel the yellow. Or like you say, wear it. You can also eat it. You can eat strawberries, and you
Mm.
feel, energized. Yeah, so color has so many applications, and that's why I love it, because it's all around. But I think we do take it for granted. So
Mm.
I'm on a mission to let people see color.
That's amazing. Even with our young ones, we do these joy rendezvous with the younger generations. And I have to correct myself there because we don't speak about young people anymore. We speak about those who came more recently.
I like that.
And with them, we also expose them through eating color. So we go through a whole menu of eating different colors and just to see how
Oh,
we feel. So it's conscious eating. And then we do some conscious dancing as well with colors. So we will
wow, that's
dance the color yellow or we'll dance the color orange or whatever it might be. Just feel in the body that we can get the body sensations about it. That we
yes.
can, yeah, that we can. I remember myself when I was young on my planet, I was told things. So there was associations that I made based on imprints of my parents or teachers or peers. For example, that white makes you look fat, or yellow makes you look big,
Yes.
and things like an orange. Don't wear orange because of your hair. Don't wear orange. It just doesn't suit you. And then a few years ago, I discovered how much I love orange, wearing the color. And also, it was just the stage of my life that I was at. It was a very creative time. So it was no big news that I wanted to wear orange. And now I went into this light yellow, like it's a
Ah,
pastel yellow, and I feel so good in it. It's really, it creates power from within on an unconscious level, like you say, but subconsciously. It does that for me.
absolutely.
So all
Yes.
those associations was nonsense. So when we like play with the younger people, the ones who came more recently, we actually entice them that try out different colors, because how would you know that it's really authentic you? Try it out and see how you feel and go for the day. And even if you feel odd, and I, for example, I'll never wear brown. You have to put me in a coffin before I'll wear brown.
I also have brown issues.
So I have big brown issues. So maybe I must come and see you while I'm here on earth about my brown issues. But you will
Yeah.
not see me dead. I will still wear it where there's other autumn colors with it. But alone, never ever. So it's just
Mm.
very interesting again of what we get attached to and how we then put our lives towards that. But now I want to ask you another question. I've heard a little birdie that here on Earth now you have all this great technology that I can be in a very different location and communicate in this way with you, and that we can share this with the rest of your planet and mine, is that what influence have technology on people's perceptions of color? Like the way, because it's a very visual, auditory type experience with technology, what influence does that have on a human's life in terms of color?
In terms of color, because we are so visual and we live on this planet in this dimension, is a very visual environment, a visual, environment. So yes, absolutely, the colors that we are surrounded with in technology definitely has an effect on us, because we are so, it has such a huge impact on us. If I can maybe give an example, is that Twitter, the channel, the social media platform, is that turquoisey blue. And turquoise blue, if you take the traditional meaning of color, is about mass communication and technology and the age of Aquarius. So the different social media platforms and other technological companies use color specifically because they want to portray a certain image or convey a certain message. So because I think that actually makes it even more important to be aware of color or conscious of color, so that you know what they're trying to do to you or with you.
Mm, mm.
And you are awake, so you know. listen, I'm being influenced or impacted in a certain way. Do I really want to be that way or feel that way or think that way? So that's where I'm also a very strong believer of critical thinking. And I think maybe I can be somewhat of a pessimist or a fatalist, but obviously there must be a healthy balance. But when you know what the message behind the color is, then you can decide for yourself, yes, I want to believe in this, or no, this is not for me.
That really is very interesting. I'm really curious about what you just shared. And before I go on to that curious path, I want to also just say, but surely it's then also relevant the other way around. So like if I have this service or this product or whatever it is to share with the world, if I'm one of those who came more recently, I must also be aware of how people will respond to that. So if I use like in my logo and how I brand myself and present myself to the world, I have to be very, there's two parts for that. I have to be very aware again of what the colors is that I choose, what it will reflect outwards, like the rainbow, and also is really authentic me. Because if I'm not in integrity, somebody else will pick it up.
Absolutely, and I think you've made a very important point, because I believe, because in the marketing world now, it's all about who's your ideal client, how you market to them, get into their head, speak their language, use the colors that they would be attracted to. But I don't actually feel that that's very authentic. I think you always have to start with you. You have to know who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses. And then once you know yourself very well, you will know exactly who you can serve. So like you say, I would rather go the other way around. Choose your colors according to who you are. And then you will, in any way, attract the right people to your product or service.
Now that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I really my body responds to that. And I think it's two different perspectives. And I think maybe if I look at the Earth's history and humanity's history, where it was very masculine orientated, where you go outwards, you have to say who's your market, you have to define them, because the mind wants to define stuff. Whereas the feminine way, neither is wrong, it just depends on what you're comfortable with, but I still agree with you. The way of the authentic part, you going outwards and then attracting those people, it's almost like a spider's web. The spider doesn't go and hunt for her food. She spins her web and the food comes. And for us, that's the same concept. And when and people buy authenticity, they buy into that. Somewhere along the line, they will become dissonance because they will see, but you actually misrepresented yourself and what you bring, because you were not in integrity, because you were trying to please somebody else out there.
Exactly.
And I think from what our experiences here on Earth is that humanity and the world is in a transition phase. And so there's still people on the one side and people on the other side. Neither is wrong or bad or good. It's simply to feel in for yourself what is best for you in this moment and what you resonate with, and that you are in integrity. But you know what you also said, they raised something else with me, which I think is very important from our discovery here on Earth, with especially the ones who came more recently. It's a way to discern for yourself what you should take in,
absolutely,
and what you should investigate, and what you should completely discard in this moment in time. Maybe in 2 years you want to explore that again. But for now, you are not in integrity, and if you take this thing on, it will not make you feel good. It will not serve what you want to do. You will just pretty well not feel good. So this is then what you're saying is color is a way for the ones who came more recently to decide whether something is good for them, especially in social media and where they see all these things and on the internet, to use color as a way of discerning. Is this really serving me now?
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yes, yeah, and not because we get so overwhelmed, and we live in this information age, and we are bombarded with information and with colors. But if you can decide that, maybe this is it's a simple example, but I'm going to go for all the yellows at the moment. I love yellow; it makes me feel good. I love being out in the sun, and yellow is, when you look at the chakras, the color of confidence and the color of the intellect, the color of inspiration. So you decide, I'm going to focus on yellow for 6 months or a year, or we we want instant gratitude or gratification, maybe for the next week. And maybe say that for this week, I'm going to focus on everything that I see is yellow, and I'm going to look more deeply into that. I think that's a way of, like you say, being discerning, and also, incidentally, yellow is the color of focus, to focus on a very specific path or a way or in a learning curve. So yeah, I would say, otherwise you get overwhelmed and then you don't do anything, or you don't learn anything.
Wow, you just personally helped me here. From what you just said, thank you for that. So you see, visiting Earth after all has all its benefits. That's wonderful. So the other question I want to ask you, how can color, in your experience and from what you understand and know at this moment in time, help humanity to become more into harmony? And the reason why I'm asking that, maybe I can just quickly share that, is from our perspective, what we've been experiencing is that there's the sameness thing on Earth currently. But if you're not the same as me, I don't like you, you're a threat to me. So everybody must be the same. And if we just look at what nature is showing, the colors of the rainbow, they're all very different, but together they create this beautiful phenomena, the rainbow.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's why I'm asking you, do you think color could bring harmony?
Absolutely, because I think the color, because you also get a color personality, and once again it comes back to knowing the self. If you know yourself and you're open to evolution, open to growing, but you still stand in your integrity, you will not be threatened by someone who is different. In fact, you will welcome it. You will want to know more. And that's why I say open-mindedness is also extremely important, or curiosity, to say that yes, I am here in this city, in this country, at this point in time. I know who I am. I know what I like and what I don't like, and I know my values, but I want to know more about you. And I think once you are comfortable with yourself and your color, your specific color, whether it's green or blue or pink, you will welcome a different color into your life because you want to know more about that color. And that won't be a threat. So yes, I do think that color, if you maybe connect or link it with personalities and values and all of that, and say, okay, this is who I am, but I want to learn more about you, who is a different color to me, and I'm just talking about colors of the rainbow, then yes, we can definitely bring harmony, but it always starts with the self.
Oh, that's beautiful. It always comes back to the self.
Yeah.
And for us, the self and me is not the same thing. But that's something for a different discussion. It will keep us busy for a very long time.
Yeah.
But you know, while you were sharing that, something came up for me, which I'm also curious about, is the way that young children gets exposed to colors. That it's just like I've got all these rainbow color, this thing of all these pens that I'm very busy with on a creative project. But it's like, this is red. There's no real connection with the color. It's external. They get all that cards that they are shown. This is red, and that dog is brown, and the clouds is white, and the sky is blue. But there's no connection with it. There's no relation with it. Is that true? Is my perception true that's been happening? Maybe it's changing now, but in the past, that was how people were exposed to colors?
Absolutely. I think it was only a visual. But I'm also a big believer in the senses, in the 5 senses, and then obviously the intuition, the 6th sense. So I believe that you have to experience color with all your senses, because you can do that. You can taste it, you can feel it, you can touch it. You can actually hear color, because like you say, you dance according to the color. So I think once you experience it with all 5 your senses, color, and not just only seeing it, that's when you really sort of start making it your own, and really feel it, and not just intellectualize color.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think I would invite everybody who's going to engage in this video later to explore it, try it, see how it works for you, because you might be really surprised. Like me with my brown, I might be really surprised. So I don't want to go and eat soil necessarily. But I can walk barefoot on the soil. I can do that
Absolutely.
and see what that feels. And I already know it will feel awesome because I have a deep
Yeah.
connection with your planets, with the earth. I really have a deep physical connection with it from a sensory point of view. Because on my planet, we're also extremely sensory. And whatever you're just speaking about the color and my body responds to it. So my body, all my cells go into vibration. Oh, that's yummy. That sounds awesome. So even on that, if we can get to that level, it becomes fun all the way. But
Absolutely.
you know, some of my friends who I've been visiting here on Earth now would say to me when I publish something on your social networks, "Oh, today you have spoken with your green pen." And initially I, what do you mean? Because I'm a writer too. So, but what do you mean that I've spoken with my green pen? And then I immediately realized what he said. What he actually meant is that the colors I used on the visuals that was on the visuals that I shared, whether it was my own visuals or somebody else's visuals that I shared, showed a different color. Also, even the words were sharing a specific color. So the essence of the words, he connected to a color. So that message would obviously reach him in some part of in his specific frame of reference, in somewhere, like whether it's his heart or his mind, or his whole body, doesn't matter where it was. But for him, that was the effect. And he was introducing me to something called the law of affection. Now, if affection is the word effect and then shin at the back, is how we subconsciously, and we have a different thing for it, we call it the art of invisible influence. Because you're not doing it deliberately. It's not manipulation. But it's when you become, again, like you use the word that we really love on our planet, is aware. You become just aware because you just didn't know it. It was not, it wasn't made aware, you weren't made aware of it. And the moment he made me aware of that integrity level is also important. How do I really feel today of what I share firstly? Or I'm just passing on something because it's nice? Or is it something that I really feel authentically aligned with today, for example? It's not about self-judgment, but to realize that through this art of invisible influence, and in his sense, the law of affection, we influence people around us, especially with all this beautiful technology and social media, and we can connect from different locations with each other in that way. But it's like those things you spoke about earlier. We influence other people's subconscious.
Yes.
And if we become more and more aware of what we actually want to put out there versus, oh, this feels good, I'm passing it on. Instead of just have to take a moment to look at it, does it really represent me and what I'm doing, firstly? And yes, maybe I just like to share it on because I like to, and that's also okay. But it's again sending a message to the world very visibly because of this visual world. So it really shows me that humanity is evolving on a very subconscious level without realizing it, which is wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So when we say what do you call it, invisible influence, is it ethical?
No, it's you don't have any intention. It happens spontaneously. That's what it's about.
Okay.
And you become aware of, I'm actually influencing so many people because there's 8 billion people on your planet, and I have the potential to influence all of them at some stage of my life. And I must become aware of what I'm putting out there. So it's not that I'm not decide, okay, I've got this new wonderful experience that I want to share with the world, and let me show you something about it. With all this also beautiful colors. So I want to share this with the ones who came more recently on your planet, for example. And now I'm deliberately going to think, and it's like a strategy, how am I going to influence all the younger ones, the ones who came more recently. Now that for me is manipulation. And it doesn't matter. Somebody else might think it's okay, and that's okay too for us. But that's not what the art of invisible influence or the law of affection is about. It's about understanding and being aware that you're actually doing it, regardless of what your intentions are. And because you're not aware of because when you start living more consciously, then you start realizing, but what I put out today wasn't serving this at all. because maybe
Okay.
I post something very negative, or from my wounded parts, or whatever, my insecurity, whatever, my neediness, or whatever it might be, which is not what my intention is about. So it's simply to understand that we have this influence, whether we're aware of it or not. And especially with the ones who came more recently because of social media and really living on these type of things, which is nothing wrong with, but there's balancing out that you mentioned earlier. But to realize then, to use your colors again, that when you're in a situation and you're looking at something, to really start using all your senses to feel in, does this serve me at this moment in time? Does it make me happy in the first place? Is it good for me, or does it make me feel cringing? If it makes me feel cringing, don't look at it again. Don't discard all those things, cut them out of your life. You don't need them. There's so much more. There's 8 billion colorful, amazing beings on this planet, all sharing a very different shade of a specific or many colors. So it's very versatile, but there's a place for everything.
Yes.
So I think for that, for the ones who came more recently, that could be extremely powerful when they become aware of this color thing, of sensing into the colors and to feel what they feel like.
Absolutely, because they say that I think it's about 90%, or vision is the master of the senses, and about 90% of all information that we consume is visual. So that is why it is so important to be aware. Once again, but yeah, and then the color plays such a big role in that. And like you just said, use your senses to determine or to become more discerning about what's good for me and what do I really need, or is just this me serving myself or my neediness, as you say.
No, that's awesome. You know, something else that just came up while you were sharing that is that this world of yours is, some people call it complex. We don't call it complex. We think it's an amazing place to be alive at this moment in time. And we can actually simplify our lives in that way as well, because we don't expose ourselves to all this. We can get easily overwhelmed with all this stuff coming at you. And where to go now? And like you say, using the senses, using the colors is a wonderful, simplistic way of responding to the world out there, instead of just diving into everything and anything and then feel extremely scattered and depleted and scared sometimes and lonely sometimes. So the color for me is a beauty. You talked about therapy in the beginning. That's awesome. So tell us about this therapy thing of yours.
Okay, so I'm definitely into the personal development side of it. I believe in personal evolution and growth and development. So I use color to determine where your wounds are. To say that, listen, this is the reason why you're repeating maybe a cycle. This is the reason why you react to challenges always in this way, or why you think about life this way. And then we can change it. And we can start the healing process. And we can say, you know what? Yes, it probably will always be a part of me. And recognize that part of yourself that's maybe also a little bit insecure, or a little bit too boisterous, or the one who always wants to keep the peace. That's part of me. But in some circumstances, I have to also stand up for myself and change that way. So yes, it's part of me, but I learn how to sort of manage it or get better at doing it. So I use my colors to say that, you know what, okay, this is it, this is it. Also, what's lovely about color is your hidden gifts and talents. Because as we grow and evolve, we become aware of new things that we can actually do that we never thought of. And then also your purpose or your passion, or why you're here, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, why am I here? What am I doing? And color can actually show you why you are here. And you can then use those colors in your environment or in your business or in your home, or you can eat it, or however you want to apply color to become stronger and more centered in that feeling of your purpose. Or, like I say, you can heal wounds and manage these things better.
That's awesome. You know, while you were sharing that, something interesting happened to my body, of my brown thing. And I immediately realized what it was.
Yeah. I'm curious.
And I'm willing to share it here openly on earth, is because I'm an alien, and I always felt disconnected from earth.
Okay.
Easily for me to disconnect from your planet and go to my planet. So although I love the earth, and I've also got a deep connection with her, because when I'm here, when I'm visiting like this, I feel so at home. But it was also part to realize that this physicality that I'm in when I'm visiting this planet is just as important as me like gallivanting all across the universe to different planets and having these most amazing experiences with other beings from other planets. And it was that disconnection why I didn't like Brown.
Wow, that's
because
insight.
Because when I was birthed, I didn't feel I belonged here.
You see? Yeah,
because I was birthed with this the thing about your mother's, you know, the navel string, umbilical cord around my neck.
Yes.
So I was like breathing nicely. It was a terrifying experience coming into the world.
Yes.
And that had its repercussions on that level, because it felt unsafe coming to this planet like that. I don't want to suffocate. I'm going to die. So here we are. So I want everybody to really notice what happened here in so how many minutes, in such a short time, for me to get to that understanding. Thank you, Lien. That was awesome. And there are a lot of things in my life which would be maybe very helpful for others, regardless of age, is that it was very easy for me to create things. Like I can create something out of nothing in a second. But the part was, I wouldn't necessarily put it through, you know, to each fruition, because I didn't trust this place for many different other reasons too. But it comes back to my color brown.
Absolutely. And like I say, you will always have that little part of you that's, oh, maybe, no, this is not good enough. I'm just going to get the idea and never manifest it. So it will be part of you, but now no, that's just a voice in my head.
It's not the truth. But now I can also work on this connection of being really physically here. And
because you are here.
I know, but it's that self experience. When we spoke about me and self, the me thought disconnected. The self can easily feel connected, but the me part of me, the wounded part, because of that traumatic birth. And that's why I say this difference between the two for me was not allowing the self to actually share all those beautiful things that could be created on the spot.
Yeah, and definitely walking barefoot would definitely help, because the brown earthiness, and then brown is also the color of stability. So it gives us that, because we need that. Because we go on these flights of fancy, and I do that too. That was my brown issues, where I was going through a terrible relationship, and the whole thing, and it was just, I was all over the place, and I was very unhappy and all of that. And then one day I looked up, and I looked around me, and everything was brown, and I'm like, what is going on? The floor was brown, my couch was brown, I was drinking a glass of red wine, and that looked brown, everything was brown. And I was like, but where did all the color go? But it was because of this experience. But then when I looked back, and that's why I say I've sort of resolved my brown issues, it was exactly what I needed at that time. I needed to be stable. I needed to feel safe and secure. I needed to be in one place and in a comfort zone, just to heal. And so brown does serve a purpose.
Now I'm taking this brown thing a little bit further, because this is fascinating, and I'm always stunned about how these things unfold so spontaneously and synchronistically. In terms of the ones who came more recently, I mean, I'm one of them in my planet. I'm a nomad. And I feel at home wherever I go. So I have that connection wherever I go, or I feel at home. I can't say my home is here or there or anywhere, because wherever I go, I just feel amazing. It's just an amazing place. I love what's happening there. I love the people. I love to learn about what they do. I'm interested to see how we respond to each other and all those type of things. But the part for me that's now really relevant for the ones who came more recently, because they live in a more nomad type world. Because we can work wherever we are and do whatever we want to do. It gives us joy. So there's not anymore this one place, like this house, this place, the city. It's no longer there. It's because of the way humanity evolved and the technology and communications in the internet has allowed that to happen. So it's important that if you are a nomad, that's wonderful. Explore the world, gallivant, experience many different things, but take time wherever you are to connect to the earth, to go and walk barefoot, like you say, to connect to the color brown, because it will give you that stability, because without it, we are not stable, like you say, we're not balanced. And it's important to do that, and to just to, whatever it might be for you, because it might be very different from person to person, but do something that you can connect wherever you are at that moment with the soil. Because one of the first things when I travel, when I fly somewhere, is I want to walk on the ground. I don't want to be in the sky, although I love to look out and see the bigger thing, because when I grew up, we were always in the trees. So we always saw the house, we always saw the world from the top. And we had a flat room at home, and we were always on top of that roof, doing all sorts of interesting performances for the neighbors' kids and stuff. We were very mischievous. But the tree thing was a deep connection to the earth on our planet.
Yes.
But it created a different experience for us. So we could be connected to the earth, and we could have this strategic outlook, which made us more balanced when we were younger. So now when I'm older, being a little bit longer on earth or on my planet, is that then now wherever I travel, I have this desire. There's two things that I want to connect to: water and the earth. I need to walk somewhere, and I need to do it barefoot as well. And I have to go perhaps for running or walking, that I can experience the rhythm of that place with my body, to feel the rhythm between the two. So that's something that I can really advise people as well. But like you said, it's when we talk colors, it's as simple as that. You just surround yourself with that color for a while.
Absolutely, the color that you need, that makes you feel comfortable, or that inspires or motivates, or whatever emotion or just support you need at that moment. And what I love about color, and you also spoke about simplicity, color is simple because it's everywhere. It's in nature, it's in our food, it's everywhere, and that makes it so simple and accessible. So take it, use it to help you, to support you. And connecting to the earth, I think, is also important for manifestation in the end, because we are all the colors of the rainbow. So it's good to make sure, they're all balanced, or as much as you can manage that.
And you know, something else that comes up for me now when we talk about colors is the way we learn. Now, I know lots of people, I don't have one here now, but they have these markers, these highlighters, that we call highlighters on my planet. And what it does is, when you do use it, I actually should have brought an example, I didn't think it would come up. But when you do use a highlighter, for example, in your brain, what's happening in your brain activity, and that we've discovered on my planet through research and all sorts of studies and stuff, and just experiments, is that you remember that much more better than something that was just typed out or written. Because the color now, that connection in your brain, took it into a deeper level of memory that makes more sense. Again, we go back to the senses. But now we go to the senses of the brain, and we are fascinated about that. We really are doing some interesting things to really see what's really there in terms of our brain sensory abilities.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's a different other field by itself. And that's what the ones who came more recently is going through when they join our journeys. But it is, so color is being used in many different ways. And we see it also, we also saw this advance, evolution, whatever you progress, whatever you want to call it, in humanity, is if you just look how the way that people has presented themselves from a business perspective, of a life's work perspective, or bring a contribution to the earth. Is before people would have used, if my name was John Soap, my business would have been called John Soap, blah, 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 for example. Or it would have been just J, Robbins, whatever. But it's becoming more colorful in the sense of in the logos, in the way it's shared, there's more colors. But also the creativity around the names is coming out, which is then linked to colors as well.
Yes.
For us, that's awesome because it shows us that humans coming closer to this self part, like that you spoke about earlier as well, discovering the self. Where before it was more a me thing.
Yes, an outside thing.
It was an outside thing of me. And like you say, it was much about what would the outside world think more than me really being in integrity and authentic, presenting myself to the world like I am as it is.
Yes.
And that's fascinating for us. So that type of influence of colors, we can actually see if we take the camera, if we take the movie backwards, and we watch it backwards, how color has really come into the world. And I actually mentioned it yesterday to somebody. You just look at these old still pictures of people in the 1800s and 1900s, black and white, no expression. And now all these beautiful selfies coming closer to ourselves. And it's colorful. People don't want to do it in black and white. They do it in color. No. Whatever they feel, these people who don't care, they look miserable on that picture according to other people's values, that they actually share it. It's beautiful. So this color thing seems to be, there's some, what we would call morphic resonance, something is happening with this color thing in the world.
Yeah, that's great news for me. And I want to see that in the corporate world as well, where, where there's not only gray and beige and all of that, where we really bring in, because I'm also very much into the creativity thing. And, creativity is going to be one of the top 5 skills by 2020. So how can you be creative in a space that's dull and that's boring and that has no color? And how can you expect your employees to be creative and, make a lot of money for you coming up with new ideas if you don't create an environment that is conducive to being creative? And that, just bring in a color and you'll see an amazing transformation. But I also want to...
No, go on. Please go on.
The other thing is that, color has a frequency and a vibration, and so does essential oils, and so does music. So when you're learning, and you mentioned the highlighters, you can even burn a specific essential oil that is linked to a specific color that has specific properties and bring forth certain abilities when you're learning. So, for example, lemongrass is considered yellow, and yellow helps to focus. And so when you are studying something and you need to really cram it into your head, burn some yellow oil. So that's why I love color, because it has so many applications, and you can link it to so many other things that then stimulate your senses, not only the vision, the sense of sight.
Thank you for that, because it reminds me of something that we do on our planet. Especially when you want to go into a creative, innovative space, or when you want to learn, is we sniff, like we take a bottle of rosemary oil.
Oh,
and
wow.
It opens up the whole mind completely. And suddenly all your thoughts disappear, all the stuff that you got attached to from a mind's perspective disappear, and you're just available to so much more. But there's something else I want to share with you, that when you spoke about this bringing the color into your environment, that we had a very interesting experience at one of the corporates in your world, which we were quite well acquainted with, was that they got somebody externally in, a consultant, to do this color overall in their most amazing office park, most beautiful. And then when you walked through there was something wrong. The people didn't represent the colors. So the way the people acted. So what I'm saying is you have to work on both. Now you have to let people discover in the workplace this self part that you were speaking about, because the colors that was in the environment there was dissonance, complete dissonance. Let me give you an example. The people were like before, they were rushing. It's this very fast environment. People running in the walls all over, but most beautiful around them. And you felt completely overwhelmed by this, because these two different energies, because the energy, like you said, the color was most beautifully done, really. But the people didn't represent that. So the visitors who walked in there was in a twist, like, what's going on here? I cannot be in this space, especially if you're very sensitive. But you
Yes,
picked up immediately straight away that something is not in balance, something is not in resonance here, then something's incoherent here. So all I'm
yes,
saying is that when you do that, yes, it's wonderful, but then you have to add the other process on the people side as well. But they
yes,
can discover those colors. And I would actually say work with the people first, and then you do the environment. That you can see what's really true for you. And the same goes for branding, obviously, as well.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, once again, start with you. And I think if you have your own little cubicle, you make that the color that
You are.
yes, yes,
So you
yeah,
personalize it where you feel you, and I can, like anywhere we go into the world, like tomorrow going to another environment, which is not my environment, but I go in there and I can be myself there. So I don't
yes,
feel like all, pulled in different pieces, and I can stay centered. And then I can come back to my one if I do feel scattered, or I do feel like I'm depleted, or whatever it is, because maybe there was just too much stuff there that my color code does not resonate with.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You also have to have that safe space where you can come home to and just I can breathe again. I
This is
can
me.
recharge.
That's
Yes.
beautiful. Now, Lien, there's something else that I'm curious about. A little birdie told me from your planet, told me that you've also written a book. What is that about?
Yes. Well, the book is called Become Color Conscious and Transform Your Experiences. So it's actually it's a workbook with all these lovely, beautiful activities. And it's for you to come closer to your colors and your experience of color and your emotional attachment maybe to colors. So you go on this almost like very colorful journey with all sorts of activities while you're still learning a little bit about color meanings and stuff. But it's really in the end, you will feel like, yes, and you will look at the world through completely different eyes, and color will have completely different meanings to you. And so it's a personal journey about color. And I read something interesting. Who's the lady, the astrology lady, Linda? She wrote all these astrology books, and she said people who see color vividly are more sensitive. So I think it just opens your eyes to color, and you can use it like, as the title of the book says, to transform your experiences. Life will just have new meaning and new joy and new inspiration when you literally see color. So
And
yeah,
if you taste it, of course.
taste, smell it, feel it, hear it.
It's what we call a whole person experience.
Absolutely.
Not
Yeah.
just part of it, because we live in worlds that, like you say, it's so visual and auditory sometimes, and the other senses are completely neglected, which
Yes.
brings up off balance as well. In the same with the colors, is
Yes,
to, like,
absolutely.
when you like feel blue, don't go and wear blue.
Yeah.
Wear a different color.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how it also comes up in the in the vocabulary that's been used,
Oh,
the
yes.
language of the colors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Mm.
I'm also a lover of words. So yes, it definitely comes up. I'm blue or tickled pink or yellow bellied, or so we use it in our speech as well. Or I'm red with rage. And I talk about that in my book as well, where you use the language that we use to express ourselves also contain. It's also very colorful.
That's awesome. Now, I would really like at the end of this podcast, we're going to share Lien's details with you. And please contact her. We're also going to have details of the book there. And Lien, you're also doing some other interesting stuff, like something online that's coming up. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, I have a Unblock Your Creativity course, online program actually, and it's for all those who feel that they are not creative. Because I grew up with the notion that creativity means that you can draw or paint or sculpt or anything like that, and I can't do that. Maybe it's something that's a hidden gift or talent that I would explore later in life, but I have figured, and I've based it on the different colors and the chakra colors, different types of creativity. So red creativity, for example, would be, I can do things with my body. I'm an amazing athlete, or I can landscape a garden. So very physical stuff. So I'm extremely excited about this online Unlock Your Creativity. And like I say, it's for those who believe that they're not creative. And it shows you 7 small things, small changes that you can make to your environment and yourself, your heart and your mind and your soul, to be more creative, or to become more creative. So yeah, I'm very excited about that one.
Wow, that sounds awesome, because I'm really grateful you actually raised this now. I wanted to actually ask you that, and now here you raised it as well. Is the matter of being an artist versus creative. And for us, everybody's born creative. It must be ignited and stimulated and strengthened, like any muscle. It's like any muscle in the body. If we don't exercise it and we don't use it, it will not work. And being artistic for us is also something, it's a very specific gift.
Yes.
And what we've learned is, which is very interesting, is that once you start discovering creativity through all your senses, type of creativity you're speaking about, not being a painter or a musician or a writer, whatever it is that when you start using all your senses in the creative processes, which we take just to get out of bed every day, it's a creative process. Yeah. Our attitudes are a creative process. The way we do life is a creative process. And every day is different. No 2 days are the same. That's so exciting. That's awesome. But what we realized, what we discovered, is that when you start using all your senses in being creative in whatever you do, you can sweep the street and you're creative.
Yes.
Is that something happens inside of you. There's a link between your left and your right brain that suddenly forms by itself and strengthens. And it happens spontaneously. Wow. That means that suddenly you can become either a writer or a painter or a sculptor, or on that level being artistic. Where before you thought, oh no, I cannot draw. But who was speaking there? It was this critical part of your left brain that was telling you that. Wow. That you cannot draw. So when that little bridge is created through creative things, and even through physical activities like swimming, that link is being creative naturally, because there's balance, some type of dances as well. There's many physical activities that, especially with the ones who came more recently, it's amazing for them through that movement to have this bilaterality in their brain. So especially kids who cannot focus, when you expose them to those type of physical exercises, but also creative things, creative games, creative exercises, this bridge is naturally being, this is scientifically proven, this is not a woo-woo thing. It happens in the brain from a neurological point of view, and you don't have to think, now I must use my left brain, now I must use my right brain. You just do stuff. And that's when you can actually paint the most amazing things, or write the most beautiful stories, or learn an instrument that you thought you would never be able to master, where people would just say, I can't play a music instrument. And we realize it's nonsense. Once the sensory parts of being a human is powerful, because that's how we experience life. That's our first experience with life. And with certain senses, like the visual senses that you've spoken about so beautifully as well, it goes straight to the psyche. It bypasses the conscious mind and the critical part of the mind, the reptilian brain, scientifically spoken. It bypasses that and goes straight to the neocortex. Because that's where you want to go. That's where you want to act from, not from the reptilian brain that's so insecure, or the limbic brain that's so unsafe. You want to go to the neocortex and the frontal lobe of the brain. And through activities like that, you go there straight.
Wow, I think that's fascinating.
And it's fascinating. You start putting all these connections together. And the more you do it, the more connections you can make. And in the current world on Earth, from our perspective, what we've seen is that's what will make you blossom and thrive, is when you can start make all these different connections, like between colors and my senses, the way my environment looks, everything about me, the self that we were speaking about, and how I then relate to the external world. It's about making all these different connections.
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots, but it happens spontaneously. You don't have to think, oh my goodness, I need to now connect this dot. It happens all year, and also through the body's cell memory. It happens
Oh,
in there as well. So it's one amazing thing, this body mind spirit connection thing of being here.
yes. Yes, yeah, yes. I
So
love
Lien,
that. Love all that.
Lien, I'm really, really grateful that we could visit you today. And do you have one last message for all the ones who came more recently on your planet?
I would say go out and experience the world. Go out and experience your garden. If you have a garden, go out and experience the people around you. See them, feel them, taste them. Use your senses to experience the people, um, and and rather in pools of color. Always have color around you, and the color that that speaks to your heart, the color that makes you feel good and happy and joyful. Always keep that color somewhere, whether you wear it or you have it in your lunch box or something, and use the color to really just, you know, that go to that happy place inside.
Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you, Lien, for sharing this space with us today. And I'm taking that back to my planet as well to go and show them. And everybody who's going to engage in it, I really want to ask you just to sit back for a moment when you engage in this video and allow the colors to speak to you today. And just see what comes up for you. You might feel a sensation in your body that's strange, and that's okay. Or a thought might come up, an idea might come up, whatever it might be. Just notice when you sense into this colorful world we were talking about today, what happens to you, how you feel, if you just sense into that. And maybe use a sense that you've never used before that much. We use most of our senses most of the time, but some of them we've neglected. But try to use the ones that you've neglected and see what happens. And the sensations in your body, how you feel contracted or more expanded, or just like at peace, whatever it might be. There's no right and wrong, but explore, and be curious. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. And thank you, Lien. It was wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you, Hannelie, and have a colorful day and on your planet as well.
Thank you, Lien.